Hello and welcome to Darius Comic School, and today I will review or in-depth review The Walking Dead All Out War #1. And I do this because I have found a lot of positive things about The Walking Dead, and not many are pointing out the flaws, and there are definitely flaws in the storytelling, flaws in the characters. There are also strengths, and I want to show you both so that it's not just one-sided and just glorified. We're here to learn story and art, and we need to know what's what and what's good and what's not. Who am I to judge? Well, I think I have a good taste. Maybe we can judge together and we'll see. And you have definitely a different or a new voice coming from me from a different perspective. Maybe you can appreciate that too. And also, I would point out something that, for example, Kentaro Miura does a bit better, not art-wise, but storytelling-wise. But we will come to that in a second when we talk about characters and how to make the audience care. So let's start with Walking Dead. So The Walking Dead All Out War, Volume 20, or Part 1, Volume 20. Let's start. So this will contain spoilers because we will go through it all. But I will point what I like, what I don't like. So the idea of having an all-out war between human groups is pretty cool. And so here we see Rick not getting much sleep before they will strike Negan. Some silent panels, I like that. Also Charlie Adler definitely delivers great art. He draws Andrea very beautiful, and I appreciate that. And yeah, great art, and the storytelling goes to like Rick has some doubts, and Andrea definitely helping him to overcome those doubts. I think in a very good way, and Ezekiel also not very many doubts, but he stayed at Michonne's, and so this is kind of cool. What's coming up and what's not happening between them. And then we have Eugene. I'm rushing a bit through because we'll talk about some more important scenes. So this one's all good or decent. Rick gives a speech before they go off, and so far I have nothing to complain about. Good art, good storytelling so far. It is a bit strange because it went from a survival comic to now a war comic, but I think that Kirkman wanted to show that, and that's pretty cool. And the art is pretty solid, no bad panel from Kirkman. And I think that this idea where they will strike at Negan is pretty cool. So good for you if you haven't read the comics yet or haven't watched the show. I think this was pretty cool what they came up with, the idea. So they talk. I don't know if I agree with everything like Negan says, but that's definitely personal taste, how you write a comic, what you do with it. But yeah, it's kind of cool. And overall, I enjoyed this first one very much. Was pretty intrigued by it. Nothing big to say. And yeah, I was enjoying pretty much everything. The art is pretty great. Great stuff so far. Let's see. So they run out, they fight, and this is where my first sticky note comes up, and it says a really good, cool idea. So I like it that it's not just muscle that beats the muscle, but it's the idea. Like Rick and his people go up to Negan and flood his place with so much noise that there will be tar pitted by zombies. And I really like that. That's like really great. So the fight is kind of cool. And then there's some part of the plan where they all go hiding again. So they make a hit and run. They hit Negan. Not really hard, but very loud, so that they can be flooded. And then Holly what's his name? The cool with the red hat. How could I forget his name? Abraham's girl, Holly, gets out, and I think that this is a great panel. So great artwork here, great storytelling. And Rick is about to do something, and Holly says, "No, I cannot let you do that." And she insists that she's gonna do that. And here I got another note, and maybe I was a bit pissed. And here I write the Woking Dead, because I think here Holly will say, Rick, I'm very strong. And he says, I know you are. I'm sure you could handle whatever happened to you on the other side. Like, I think Rick will go through the fence with a car, and he kind of gambles on it, or he knows that Negan's not gonna kill him. And Holly insists she wants to do it. And so I don't say things like this don't happen, or that they're out of character. I think if once a strong woman like Holly definitely is the one, but I'm accusing definitely Robert Kirkman of being a woke writer, even if it's not laid on too thick. But Maggie is a badass for no reason. Well, she kind of maybe is strong because, yeah, I don't know. Andrea's pretty strong and capable. Michonne is pretty strong and capable. And you might say, so what? So are some of the men, true. But mostly men in this comic, that's what was my feeling, are portrayed as weak and something. We will come to that. There's definitely, I think maybe even at the end of this one, there will be one glaring example. But this one's pretty fun. This is pretty cool. I'm enjoying this so far. The art is amazing. Like Charlie Adler, definitely at the top of his game. And look at this. Like this is amazing. Like cars going through fences, hitting walls, zombies, Negans. Like this is a prime action comic. It really is. And then Holly, before she dies, she gets rescued by Negan. And so everybody packs up, and they will now trying to hit the outposts. That's and it's all great. Like I'm really enjoying this all-out war. And then at Negan's place, they have captured Holly, and he threatens her, and he says, "Man, this is so good that we got Rick's girl." And she said, "No, you got the wrong girl. I am Abraham's girl, and this guy killed him." And yeah. So far, so good. Like, really one of the better episodes. What do I write here? This is cool. Yeah, this is cool. Like, this really is cool. I'm really enjoying myself. And look at this. Like, great pages. One of the better comics. But it has some flaws. And the flaws will come in part 2. And I will and need to point them out, because this is the comic school. So, Michonne and Ezekiel... how do you say, growing close, or maybe getting together, definitely sharing. I think this relationship, like that Michonne picks only black guys, and she saw Ezekiel and they immediately fell in love. I didn't really buy it. That's a bit of a weak spot. It is written well, and I know Robert Kirkman has to move pretty fast in these comics, because I think it's monthly comics and people are expecting stuff, so maybe he has to come up on the fly with stuff, and so he can't take too long. But it's a bit of a shame. Still, here it's working. Like Michonne and Ezekiel have a thing, and that's all fine. So they had a successful day at war. Art's great, dialogues are pretty cool. Rick gives another speech. I don't know about the speeches. The only really, really cool speech is from the president in Independence Day. That one's a really, really good speech. Giving too many speeches, like Rick does in almost every comic, weakens the comic. We'll come in a second to this one, because in Berserk, you talk through action. So mostly here, sure, they have dialogue, but then things happen and things play out, and we see things play out in real life, and we're with the character there. So we're experiencing what they are experiencing. Here in The Walking Dead, often it is we're experiencing something, sometimes even enough, but then some things happen off screen, and then some things we're just told and we cannot feel them. It is not a visceral feeling. And so it is, they say, show, don't tell. But in this comic, sometimes or often it's tell, and that weakens it, definitely. So not a super big fan of the speeches. And yeah, but so far so fine. So the saviors are trying to get free of all of the zombies, which is pretty great. So this one really a good one. I will make a happy face on the thumbnail. And then Holly captured this guy, tries to take advantage of that. And then Negan doesn't have that and ends the situation. And then Gregory gets back to the hilltop. He's a very overly dramatic guy. That has been his character from the beginning, and that's totally okay. And so Maggie, like he says, oh man, how could you trust you? We screwed up. Negan is now coming after us and all of that. And Maggie opposes them. And I can understand that she does because she was part of Rick's group. So she definitely drank a bit of that rebellious Kool-Aid, which I also love. Like, I'm not one that kneels happily. I want to have a say in how things play out. And it's really cool. And then, like, Maggie definitely opposes him. And they have definitely an argument. And Maggie concludes that with hitting him, which is fine. I will say she says and does things, and she also like she hits him, and then she says, and then a guy a guy has to hold her back and says, Maggie, stop, like, don't brutalize that old man. And he says, like, Gregory, we don't have to resort to violence, ma'am. And she says, my name is Maggie Green, that's okay. And then she stands up and she says, you are not stupid people. Don't allow your leader to ruin your lives. I don't know if this is a message or a theme that the comic wants to give us, and that's okay. I mean, that's totally cool. I'm also always like to be my own leader. And is anyone here happy with the status quo? You like working so hard to give Negan and his people half. Like, this is really good. I know you don't. You even tasked Rick Grimes to take Negan out in the first place. And he lies, and then she says, shut the fuck up before I hit you again. So Maggie definitely a very violent girl. And this is where some people will point out what I say in a second, that maybe I'm wrong, but I had here like wokeism, fantasy, and this might sound harsh for some people, but I was raised in movie school to do my research. And I'm not saying that women cannot be rebellious or leaders. And I wrote down fantasy because I lived now for 41 years on this earth, and I have seen women's behavior firsthand. So this is definitely something like, I don't know if Maggie would act this way. She can, and she definitely can, and this is why I say wokeism, and the woke trope is like that all of the men are kind of weak and maybe rotten, and all of the women are very strong. And this is like my first time I make this case, and we will see in the end of the comic that there will be some other points that will reinforce that. And she's definitely advocating about Rick, and then look how many capable people you have here. But somehow Maggie is the one resorting to violence, to physical strength, to authority, to speaking her mind, and all of these guys and girls are just sheep. I don't know about that. It didn't sit right with me. And then what doesn't sit right with me is also this ugly ass artwork. Like, you will never get something ugly as that from a good old, I don't know, American or manga comic. I don't know. Just this I don't like. When Rick Grimes, when you got the splash page and it's just a face, and it's not even a pretty face. Like, it's not done well. So if you're trying to do this well, make it killer, make it look sexy or beautiful or whatever, like, are just amazing. This is just boring and not that pretty. And it hasn't anything to do that Maggie is a woman or something. That it's just not good art. And then Michonne comes back to Alexandria, and here the artwork is stellar. Like, I don't know what Charlie was on, but here every panel just looks amazing. Like these pages, amazing. Just the silhouettes, the facial expressions, the black and white. And then we hit another chapter, or then I don't know really where we are in the story, but I have another sticky point, and here Eric dies, and Eric is his boyfriend, and these ones are a couple. And I barely know Eric. I just know they are a couple, but the comic didn't do a good job for me to care. So Eric dies, and it's like, okay, who the fuck cares? And here's like, we don't know Eric, don't care about him, but he will fight for Eric. So I know that he's a plot device, that this guy and all the other guys will fight now a bit harder because they lost people they love, but it's not done well. And this is where The Walking Dead, and why I will review all of the issues, because there are people and they will die, like Alan. And Alan and Rick in the comic barely even spoke a word. And when Alan then dies, then Rick goes to his grave and says, "Oh, we talked always," and all of that. And you as the reader, you're like, what? I didn't know him. I didn't care about him. When did you talk with him? When did we bond with Alan, the character? And we didn't. And that's a flaw in the writing, and that is not good. In Berserk, like every character that gets introduced, like this is generic bad guy, but we get a bit of the motivation of the generic bad guy, and we learn that he's evil and that he likes to eat people and that he enjoys being evil. And I know that sounds very generic, but we know him long enough, not super much, but we know him long enough to know that it's his character. And when he dies like a coward, we kind of like to see him go. And also, like, he does some pretty bad shit, so we're definitely rooting for Berserk or Guts. And every minor character, you see this girl, like, she's a minor character. She has maybe a couple of pages, but she and Guts, they bond. They bond over, I don't know, they have a bonding experience. He travels with them just a few pages, not super much, but they share some things, and we somehow bond with them, and then things go horribly wrong. And when they do go horribly wrong, we really, really care about the old man and his daughter. Maybe we'll have to take a look about how he does it. But as you can see, I think it takes a bit more time to develop those characters. And now you could say, okay, we don't have the time, but that's not true, because like The Walking Dead is a long-ass comic book. So time would have been there. And also, I point out, even here, again, another bad guy, but we get his motivation. We meet Vargas, this guy, an older man, and we also care about him and when he dies, and also about his story. So we always get some nuggets of backstory. We got always a bonding experience, or we get always, like, this guy was a great knight, and then he was for the first time defeated, and now he's induced by the king that is demonic, this guy, with also demonic power. And this guy took it because, like, he wanted to be powerful again. He couldn't stand to have lost against the Black Knight. That was Guts. And so every character that we see matters. And that's where I put it away again. And here, every character we see is a throwaway character. I mean, Jesus gets a lot of airtime, Rick gets a lot of airtime, but these two, I really couldn't bond with them. I mean, they have some airtime, but no bonding. And then he dies, and then I see the emotions, and it's drawn very well, but I don't feel nothing. So the writing and the story doesn't translate to the reader. At least it didn't to me. And a lot of the times, The Walking Dead, I mean, I was intrigued by the story. I wanted to know how the story goes on, but it left me empty. It was like a lot happens, a lot of tell, but less show. And here we get into a big fight. They clean out one of the outposts, and then this is what we get. And it's okay. It's not bad. But there is a big off-screen fight, which we don't need. But it's cheap. That's where my other note comes in. And it says it's anticlimactic. It's no meat and no potatoes. It's off-screen fighting. Berserk is not that lazy. In Berserk, of course, I could have taken every other comic, but in this comic you get many actions, and of course things happen also off screen. But you get filled in on the important stuff. And here, of course, you don't need to see how Ezekiel loses all of his men, but he does. Like, he fights, that's okay, and he starts losing all of his men. And the artwork is great, but I'm not involved in a comic. I'm not caring I'm not caring for the characters. And I like this guy just from the looks, but I really don't know him. I spent too little time with him, and I somehow do not bond. So sometimes Kirkman can write, but here it doesn't connect. And here all his men are like shot or dead, and this is his facial expression. These people take tons of trauma, and they just overcoming like that. I will show you in a second. So he tries to get out. Zombies everywhere. So then he stumbles and falls. His tiger, Shiva, comes for the rescue, and he cannot help her. And that's sad, but I'm not feeling the sadness. This is where, do you know Shiva? Care about her? And the answer is no. And we have to see how to make the audience, the reader, care about what happens. Because I didn't really care. I mean, I wanted to care, I really did. Like, there are pretty pictures here, but just because you get words on a page doesn't make you feel anything. But if the words are right and the pictures are right, then it evokes a feeling. And here he's telling Michonne that he lost all of his men. So he's deeply traumatized. And Rick, on the other hand, his raid was successful, so they killed every last one of them, and they are now heading back to Alexandria, and that's pretty cool. So definitely, like in a war, you have losses, you have wins. The problem is only I'm not caring about any of these characters. I'm just following the story. I'm kind of entertained, but I do not connect to any of those. Like, I don't know. And then this is very, very beautiful. Very, very beautiful. It is great, great art right here. Every panel looks cool. I don't know if Charlie Adlard was looking at a Frank Miller comic. It looks like that. The beats are cool. He's saying, he's talking about the guys he lost. And we don't care because, like, he cared. He says he didn't have a family, but now that he lost his man, he feels empty. I cannot share that because I didn't know his man, but I definitely can share some of the sentiment, and the artwork is really, really cool. Here I say great arc, Ezekiel breaking, but it's hollow. It is hollow because it's all tell and no show. So we didn't know his man, we didn't see them losing, and so even though this is a dramatic beat, it is hollow. You cannot feel it. At least I didn't. And then this is what pisses me also off. Is like Michonne hits him. Okay, she can do that, no problem. And he says, what, why? And then she says, those people have families that live in your community and they need you. You're not going to let them down. That's okay. I mean, maybe Ezekiel needs a bit of tough love. And he says, Michonne. And she says, and I have to make this, maybe this should be the thumbnail. If you're really this much of a pussy, do what you do best. Act like you aren't. I mean, it's kind of cool. It's kind of not cool. She's a tough bitch. That's okay. But what do I have here? F you, Kirkman. Strong, independent woman. Yeah, that's I think what's the trope here, because could be that Michonne acts this way, and you might say, okay, that's how the comic is, that's how the character is, and I agree. We can take it, but it could also be a woke trope of a Mary Sue, of a character that is always strong. She's a black, independent woman. She knows how to fight, and he is, I don't know, like he's breaking, he lost all of his people, and she says, get it together. I will say one thing. When you write something, and that's what Quentin Tarantino says, he says, tell the truth. And you should do your research. When I was in movie school, we had fictional movies and we had documentary movies. And my documentary movie professor, Thorsten Truscheid, said always, do not invent reality. Research and then put that into your movies, even if they're fictional. Doesn't mean that you cannot come up with stuff, but it's sometimes nice to ground it in reality. I would really love to know if women like these exist. Really. Like, you can call me an asshole, but I really want to know. Does a Michonne really exist? Maybe yes, maybe no. And the thing is this, like Michonne, Andrea, she also told more or less Rick at the beginning, don't be a wimp, man up, and we'll see that a lot. So back in Alexandria, everything is fine. Again, great art. Charlie Adlard really delivers. And yeah, and they're talking about war and whatever. Then Michonne fills in Rick on what happened and that Ezekiel lost all of his men. He lost his tiger. He lost his will to fight. Heath and this guy, like they talk about their losses, or like this guy lost his boyfriend. And it's all cool. And then they get together and they are planning what's the next step. And then shots get off and then explosions go off. And I say, this is great. This is fun. This is great storytelling, because you didn't know what was coming, and then something you didn't expect that it was coming came. And it was this explosion, or maybe the attack from Negan. They couldn't know that he was getting on his feet so fast, and now he's attacking Alexandria with hand grenades, and here it is. And now they have to fight. And also they have Holly. And they want to exchange her. No, I think they just want Rick to open up the gates and let her in. And so at this point, he opens up the gates. He lets her in. Wait a second. What does... well, yeah, I don't know if they exchange something, but he lets definitely Holly in. I was just assuming that she was a zombie, and then she's a zombie, and she bites the doctor, and then all hell breaks loose. That's pretty cool. And then I think a lot of cool stuff happened. Like, I mean, sure, action, but unexpected things are happening, and now the comic shows its strength, I would say. Jesus does some acrobatic stuff, and Ezekiel saves Michonne. They want to save also the people from Alexandria. Some saviors get blown up. And this guy who betrayed Negan for very good reasons, he's now killing some of the saviors and showing his loyalty to Rick's people. So pretty cool stuff right here, as you can see. And now everything is exploding. And as you can see in this panel, I have to make the shot bigger. As you can see, they take a grenade. And I don't know who takes it first or who takes the most. Maybe the shot goes in all directions at the same time. But Rick will get a concussion and Carl and Andrea won't. And they will call Rick a wimp or a pussy in the next episode. And I don't know about that. So again, Rick screams for Carl. Carl is hit. And Negan enjoys this and says some weird stuff. And then his random savior get shot. I think he has to retreat a bit. And at the right time, they get rescued by Maggie's people. So the Hilltop came to the rescue. And again, look at her, very prominent. And I have here a very prominent post-it for you. And I will put it right here. Mary Sue saves the day. And you can make out of it what you want. That's what I say. Please argue with me. And then she comes and she leads all the guys and the girls and the whole Hilltop. And I mean, not that a woman cannot lead, but I think that she, the Maggie character, is a Mary Sue. And I hate Mary Sues. And then, yeah, he tries, as you can see, Carl is out of it, so he's, I don't know, needs to be taken by his father and carried. Then Maggie shows up, and yeah, and then Rick loses his conscience, and then it's over. And Negan is happy. And that's the end of this one. And after this episode, I will review All Out War Volume 2. In Volume 2, I have also a lot of things to say, and I will fill this up, these reviews. I hope somebody watches them. I hope my English is good enough, and I see you in the next episode. See ya.